Well, I guess Uber's finally figured out a way to convince people to pay them to have the privilege to drive. I'm Christian with the Rideshare Guy, and today I'm going to talk about Uber and Getaround's partnership, where anyone can like pay $5 just to rent an Uber, a car to go give rides in for by the hour. So yeah, I went out and I rented a couple of Getarounds, did some shifts on the road just to check it out, see how the program works, if it's any good. So the first impressions I had of it was that getting set up was very easy. So I was able to get through into the Uber app and then click on reserve a rental and then go through the whole sign up flow within about 3 minutes. And honestly, I was able to book a car just in like 2 minutes afterwards. So that was I was pretty impressed by that. So some of the examples of cars you can get through the Uber Get Around partnership is the 2016 Prius, Camry, Jetta, Chevy Cruze, if you like those, you know. And remember, gas isn't so much a concern here because they pay for the gas. So every car, when you get into it, up in the top left hand visor, the driver's side visor, there's a gas card in there, and you can use that gas card to fill up your rental, and all that fun stuff. So the first rental that I got, it's pretty, it was a mule. Well, we'll call it a mule. It was a little donkey. Nothing you would be like showing to your friends. Look, I got this new car, right? I showed up. I got it at like 4 a.m. on a Monday morning, so maybe this thing just got beat over the weekend. Who knows? But this car was dirty. So this picture here isn't even a picture of the seats from this ugly guy. It's from the next car I got. But I want you to imagine this, but like 5 times dirtier, and then in the front and the back seat. It looked like, I don't know, people were giving birth in this car. Not the second one, but this one up here. Couldn't get a good picture of the scene because it was dark out. Anyhow, your mileage may vary. I found that testing different cars helps a lot. So if you go to your first car and it sucks, then just try to check out another car, or whatever. Find the car that isn't beat up as much. But the second car I went to, much better, much better. It was still a brand new Toyota Corolla. This was about the only thing wrong with it, and that's not even that. Yeah, that's the old car. The first car I described as having a faint smell of month-old urine mixed with little trees, new car smell. And I've given like 6,000 rides now, and I know exactly what that smells like, and I have a feeling a lot of you do too. Anyways, yeah, gas, maintenance, and insurance are included in the $5 per hour. It's pretty good because when you've looked at all the studies that have been done, even on the MIT CEPR study, I know that's controversial, and Uber's self-published studies, most of them come out to say that operating a car for Uber costs about $5 an hour. So $5 an hour, you get all the headache of dealing with a car included. It's not a bad deal on the front end of the money. But as I'm going to get into in a second, there are some catches, obviously. So anyhow, when you do get your rental, make sure you inspect it. Like, go full CSI. Like, I took pictures of all the outsides and insides, and I took notes in the app of anything that's wrong. I try to pretend like, I'm just trying to protect myself from getting like the next guy coming along and complaining. So I make sure to take good notes. And if you've been a Lyft mentor way back in the day, I know many of you probably don't know what that is now. Then just perform a mentor inspection. And yes, by old school mentor standards, most of these cars would fail. But that's when. Anyways, I won't go on a rant. Yeah. So here are the fees. There's a list on the site here. But if you smoke in the vehicle, they're gonna charge you $500. So don't smoke in your rental. I know that sounds obvious, but some people need reminding. If you leave it dirty, they're gonna charge you $45. If you leave it super dirty, $100. And I think super duty is dirty. I don't entirely know what they mean by that. A late return fee, that's $50 an hour plus the normal hourly rate. Now, the cool thing is if you can rent longer, the app did send me a notification saying, hey, do you want to extend your rental 2 or 3 hours? And it turned out the second night I did want to, because I was having a pretty good night. I was making good money. And I said, yeah, I did. And so, that's nice. The one thing that is a little annoying, though, is because you're renting this by the hour, depending on where you end up going, you kind of have to plan around that. So, if you're getting towards your last hour on the rental, I'd definitely avoid trying to, if you get a long ride, I'd probably avoid it unless you can extend the rental. So, of course, what will probably happen is if you rent until 11, sometime around 10:45, you're going to get a 6x surge to, I don't know, someplace 100 miles away. And if you do get some sort of unicorn ride like that, make sure you check the app. I know you're excited. Oh my God, 6x, I'm going to New York. Go in there and just make sure you extend it, as otherwise you're just gonna give that money to get around. You're gonna be really mad. But I told you. So should you do this? Is renting a car profitable? Yes, sort of. Mostly. So if you get a bad session, like the first session I got, it was a Monday morning on a 3-day weekend. Nobody's in the city. I only made like $50, and then I paid like $25 for the rental. That was a really bad time. Now, the second session I did on Monday as well, but I did an afternoon and things were busier, and I made $138.44 over 6 hours. And of that, I paid $31.20 in rental fees. So it ends up coming out to be like, I don't know, $106.94. I wrote it down. Aren't I smart? So $106.94 after the rental fees, it's okay. I'll take it. The problem is with doing this long term. So let's take a look at like why you don't want to rent long term. Now, up front here, you can only collect while you drive the organic fares. So that's what Uber's paying out on your fares and any tips. And we all know nobody tips, so you're basically only getting organic fares. You don't get Quest, you don't get Boost, you don't get promotions. So if you rent, you're not getting Quest, Boost, or promotions. And that's like anywhere of 25 to 35% of weekly pay. So that's a pretty big deal. Considering that, at 25, 35 boost in your top line in net pay is probably as much as 50% in like your take home profit. Because, if you get, like say a 25% pay increase for doing the same amount of work and driving, then it's a lot more because the expenses coming out on the other end. I don't know if I said that really well, but I think you get the point, or at least I hope you do. So there's also a tax disadvantage. So in addition to not being able to earn the bonuses by renting, when you rent, you have to deduct the rental fee and any actual costs to run the business. Now, the double-edged sword of Getarounds being kind of cheap and covering gas and insurance is that the only thing you end up really getting to deduct in this scenario is the rental fee. So the second time I went out, I would have been able to deduct $31.50 for the rental fee. I can't deduct gas and other things because Getaround's paying for that. So that's under the actual expenses method. Now, if I owned or leased the car, I could use the standard mileage deduction, which means for every mile I drive, I can deduct every business mile I drive. I can deduct like 54.5 cents in 2018. Now, that would have ended up coming out to $52.96. Now, that seems only maybe like a $21 difference in deductions, but over the course of a year, that's several $1,000s that you would otherwise not have to pay in taxes. So a pretty big deal. Because when you own a car, you're making more because you get Quest, Boost, and promos, but you also pay less in the tax scenario because you can take the standard mileage deduction, and that usually ends up beating actual expenses by a pretty significant portion, as we saw here. $52.96 versus $31.50. Now multiply that difference by 280 days, which is about 5 days a week of working, by the way. So yeah, track your mileage and expenses. Use something like QuickBooks Self-Employed or Stride Tax. I have a Stride Health. They got me health insurance. Or they helped me sign up for it. It's pretty cool. So yeah, another cost with this is getting to your rental. So you're renting, you have to get to this thing, right? So are you going to walk? Are you going to drive? Are you going to ride a bike? Are you going to call another Uber or a Lyft? So that might be an expense to take into account here. And that also eats into your reservation time and your time, like your coming home time and stuff. So there's kind of these high switching costs, which I could see over the course of time adding up. Now, in my case, I just walked, I think I walked about a mile to my rental and a mile back. And it actually was sort of cool because, I went and drove and I spent 6 hours sitting in a car. So when I'm done, my legs always feel absolutely terrible. And I walked a mile home afterwards and I felt pretty good. Went right to sleep. My legs didn't hurt, or my back. So I don't know. Maybe it's a little nice that we can walk to our car. But I would be smart about renting. The big key here is if you're going to rent, try to make it a short-term solution. Try to use it for a backup if your car's in the shop, or you want to test the waters as a new driver. Let's say you want to sign up to drive, but you don't have a car, or you don't want to commit your car to our Uber passengers. Go rent one from Getaround. So give it a try, see if you like it. And if you don't like it, then you don't have to, deal with these high startup costs to get into this. So, until next time, like, comment, subscribe, keep the wheels on the ground, your eyes on the road, not on your cell phone. Be profitable. May your next ride be on Surge or PT.